Hello, hello. Welcome to the Get at Gaming Plus podcast. I am Alex.
I'm Ben.
And I'm Dana or Alex.
However, we want to confuse ourselves today. um,
It's gonna get confusing. It's okay.
exactly. This is a special episode. Man, I keep doing this every single guest episode. I always start with special episode or a very special episode, and then I talk about like, oh no, this isn't like one of those like don't do drugs kids PSA like cartoons, you know what I mean? But anyway, this is a special episode because we have a guest here. We have Dana on here. I'm gonna talk about the lovely life of streaming and speedrunning, as well as probably just other fun things that we want to talk about. Because again, this is the Get Gaming Plus podcast where we just talk about whatever we want to talk about. We talk about TV shows, we talk about movies, video games. We also kind of just talk about just whatever, you know. We say we talk about anime, but then Ben and I were talking recently. We're like, you know, how long have we been saying that we talk about anime? We only talked about anime once.
That is true.
We are working on a review-ish, retrospective-ish thing of a movie at some point, and then we'll try to do more anime content as the foreseeable future holds. So don't you worry about Planet Express. Let me worry about Blank. So we will do all of that. But normally I ask how Ben's doing, but you know what? I don't care about Ben today. Dana, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, and like I'm gonna call myself out for being a fraud like right out the gate, but I probably watch more anime than I speedrun, so
Wow, you know what? Maybe this is just the anime episode. Maybe we'll just talk about some anime half of this, you know?
No, because
I even wore my Sonic shirt today.
That's no good.
See, what happens is me and Alex have different taste in anime. So I'll say something like, "Oh, My Hero Academia," and then I just see him roll his eyes. He's like, "It's just not good."
I want, you know what? I'm gonna do the joke. You're like, Alex and I have different tastes in anime. I was like, yeah, I have good taste.
and that's what happens. We were gonna do a ranking episode of anime, but I'm like, he was like, it just wouldn't work because I would say like, let's just say I said like Cowboy Bebop or DBZ or some of these older ones that I watched, and Alex is gonna be like, no, it doesn't go there because it's not good. Or especially if I said My Hero, he does not like My Hero.
Urusei Yatsura is good. It's great. Is something shaking in here? Oh,
I don't hear shaking.
It's a disc. Something's shaking in here. I don't like that now. Yeah, no, this is an 80s Rumiko Takahashi. This is the lady who did like Inuyasha, Ranma, Rine, Meisoni Koku, like that kind of stuff. But it's just an 80s comedy. There's also a remake of that, which I just happen to have on my bed as well. So it's very, very funny. It's a really good show. I highly recommend it. It's all available on like Crunchyroll and stuff now, I believe. So I see, yeah, this is an anime episode where we talk about good anime.
Good anime.
Good anime if it's my
good anime
stuff.
in Alex's eyes.
Yeah. Don't make me talk about never mind. I don't want to insult JJK. That fandom's probably gonna hate me.
Oh dear Lord.
He's going in already.
I don't like that show. I've tried like 3 or 4 episodes, right? And I've tried it a couple times and it's just not for me because I already have that type of show. I've already watched that type of show. I don't want to do the comparisons, otherwise certain people are going to be mad at me. But I'll lightly compare just to say like someone asked me recently if like, oh, you just don't like shonen anymore. And it's like that's not necessarily true. Like I like Demon Slayer enough. I like other like things like 1,000-Year Blood War, like the new Bleach is really good. But like something about JJK, like sure, it's very generic shonen, but I think it does other things cool later on. I just didn't get to see those things, and I don't have the patience to see those things. And so I I gave up on it. So that's not necessarily my fault, because if they had stuff to show, they should have showed it earlier. It's not like
I,
it's
I
not
feel like
like,
we
hey,
just
you
lost.
gotta watch what?
I was gonna say I feel like we just lost our fan base right
Oh
there.
yeah.
Now no one's gonna download it. Way to go.
See, I'm having like deja vu right now. I feel like we've had this conversation before.
We might have. I mean, we're well over 200 episodes.
Yeah.
At that point, things kind of like mesh together.
Yeah, they do.
Although I want to bring up a funny point. Um, we always have like these really great conversations that are kind of super weird. And I made a comment about the hamburger being in like a special jail for mascots. And because you don't see the hamburger anymore. When was the last time you saw him in a McDonald's commercial? Ever?
Like 10
Like
years ago.
yeah, because he's in jail. They finally Mayor McCheese finally was like, I had enough of his crap. We're gonna set up a sting.
Grimace is probably back in there now because those Grimace shakes making everyone sick.
I I think he goes to like white collar jail. I think he goes to like, hey, I messed up. I shouldn't have done it. But Hamburger's been stealing for a very long time. I mean,
Yes.
he's probably hit. I definitely know he's definitely hit the 3-strike rule. So
Have you guys seen Clerks animated series where like the mayor comes out and he's dressed up as Mayor McCheese? And then like the police officer comes out and he's dressed up as like the police officer or something from McDonald's. It's like, I too also came from a Halloween costume party just for now. And they're like, what about the Grimace? Did the Grimace die? Nothing can kill the Grimace.
I think it's funny that kids will never know the coolness of what the McDonald's characters were. They know Ronald McDonald and that's it. They don't know Birdie. They don't know Grimace. I don't know what the cop was called though. Does it?
I don't remember. There's so many characters. It's like the chickens, like the chicken nuggets and stuff as well. I'm pretty sure had a name. There's way too many things, you know?
I remember. I
I
remember.
can
I was,
barely. The only episode I can somewhat even remember from my childhood was they were like in a pirate ship, had to like fight Kraken.
Yes, because there was the Class B Supo VHS tapes of McDonald's and stuff. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, those are weird because like it was like live action Ronald McDonald with this like gross dog like guy in a sheet moving around, and then Ronald jumps down like the slide and then turns into like the Rugrats and like
Like the
animation.
Mario Brothers cartoon.
That's true. Yeah, except
Yeah.
that was good, you know?
That's
Yeah.
that's how you. This is how you know it's going to be an awesome episode when we start off with some anime. We're gonna keep nameless here for sake of losing people. Which turns into. Do you think that Hamburger is in jail for stealing all those hamburgers and cheeseburgers? Do you think Ronald finally was just like, all right, I've had enough. I bet he got tased. I bet he tried to run.
Then meanwhile, Luigi's like, it's a football, and then Mario's like, it's a stone, Luigi. Remember those memes? Remember those?
Oh my gosh!
Or
I just
that's
remember
Mama
the-
Luigi.
I just remember the episodes where they had McDonald's characters on Family Guy. They always looked horrible. Like always. If it wasn't them, then it was Cookie Monster. One of the two.
I love Cookie Monster. He's great.
Cookie Monster is great, and he's great for kids.
He is great
Blah, blah,
until you don't have cookies, and then he gets upset. Anyway, this is the
He
episode.
eats vegetables now, by the way. He
Oh
doesn't just eat
right,
cookies.
he
The Veggie Monster.
the Veggie Monster. Man, just
They
give
made
him
that very clear.
give him some like oatmeal cookies. Like how bad are those? You know, compared
every
to
time
like
you-
chocolate chip.
Yeah, I mean maybe. I don't know. He eats all cookies. Any kinds.
He needs to. He needs to eat good cookies because like I don't eat cookies, and I don't know. I guess I eat Oreos. Those are technically a cookie, but like not
mean-
a traditional cookie. I got Oreos recently. They have I don't know what they're called, but they're essentially mint chocolate chip. They're like a limited edition one right now, and
Oh,
they just
nice.
taste like mint chocolate chip ice cream. They're so good. Like they have that little like minty like kick to them. Like it just tastes like I'm eating ice cream.
Nice.
Yeah, they're great. Everyone go to your local Target and go buy some mint chocolate chip Oreos right now. Not a sponsor.
No,
but, I
they
mean,
should be.
It could be a sponsor. So Oreo, if you're watching, if you're listening,
Look us up.
yeah, give us some stuff. Before we get into the meat and potatoes of this podcast and talk about things. Dana, I have a very important question for you before we change the route of this podcast. What's your favorite anime and why?
Steins Gate, because I
I like it how I was like, I forgot, and then as soon as you said it, I was like, oh yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah,
Do you see the
I just
judgment I was
love
talking about?
the
No, I like
narrative was.
Steins Sorry, continue.
We've had a lot of conversations about Steins Gate actually, me
Yeah.
and Alex. But yeah, I just love the narrative. The time travel is like, I love the flavor of it when it's done right. It's very easy to mess up a narrative with time travel, and I loved how the characters developed. And it was that and Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, where like I started watching those animes like shortly after high school, early into college, and then those two basically turned me into the weeb I am
Well, they
today.
both kind of came out the same time. Like, if I remember
Hmm.
correctly, they were both simulcasting, like on Funimation's website. Like, you could watch them for free through Funimation.
Yeah, I think they were both like 2011, if
Yeah,
memory serves
I
correctly, and
think so.
shortly after they were out, like 2012, maybe 2013.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. But okay, I completely forgot that you like Steins Gate. I know that's like a cardinal sin or something, but like I I don't know how I just forgot about that because like it's been so long since I've talked to anyone about Steins Gate. Granted, I did talk about Steins Gate, I want to say briefly with someone about maybe 2 or 3 months ago. Um
It
and
is
with
like in the older parts now. It's almost, yeah, more
yeah,
than 10 years old.
yeah. And without going to spoilers, obviously, I kind of want to ask this question to you because I love Steins Gate as well. I think it's good to critique things that we love because not everything is perfect, and there all are flaws, and sometimes flaws make things good. You can enjoy flaws. Um, so the one flaw I feel to Steins Gate, um, besides creating the Steins Gate Zero anime, is does that that's just bad. I still haven't read the VN for Zero. I have it, I just haven't done that yet. Someday. um with Steins Gate though, how do you feel about never being able to experience for the first time ever again? Because I feel like a lot of your experience with Steins Gate, or someone's experience with Steins Gate, it's very heightened that first time you find out all the twists and things. And then after you know the twists, it's still an excellent show and you recognize it's an excellent show, an excellent VN, whatever. But you already know the twists. So somehow just your enjoyment kind of just dips, but it still stays. Do you agree with that sentiment? Like, do you agree that like not knowing where things are happening the first time for watching that is the best time?
Yes, I would agree in that. I kind of watched it when I was very sleep deprived, so it kind of worked out so that I didn't have enough mental capacity to try to like.
So you can watch it again. Yeah.
Well, that too, but also just like I wasn't really able to try to like see into the like try to read how the story
Hmm.
is going to go, and which is like I'm pretty cynical, so I do that with most things I watch. I'm like trying to see like
Yeah.
trying to predict what's going to happen in the story. So I guess I did myself a favor by watching it in a less when I wasn't able to like focus as much, I guess.
Hmm.
But yeah, I do agree that it's like once you have seen it, it's definitely not as thrilling.
Yeah.
But there, I am in love with how well that anime was able to show its story and not like try to tell it to you
I thought
through
that
like a narrator.
I thought that sentence was gonna go different. I thought something about in love. I thought you were gonna name a character, but sorry.
But yeah, and after I ended up playing the visual novel years later, which ended up also giving me. It's very fascinating because they're both perfect representations, I think, of how their respective mediums should tell the same story. Because in the visual novel, you get a ton of like narration, and
Hmm.
you're always experiencing the story through the main character Okabe, and you're constantly being shown like his inner thoughts and like what he's like struggling with without like him telling his friends and whatnot. And the show, you almost never hear like Okabe's inner thoughts, and there's like no narration to it, but they're constantly just showing you how he's feeling through just the facial expressions and stuff. So it was, even though I knew how the story was going to play out in the visual novel years after,
Mm-hmm.
it still was able to like surprise me and show me things that I wasn't expecting,
Mm-hmm.
which was fantastic.
Cool.
So if you haven't played the VN yet, Alex, it's you might be surprised what's in there.
I played a little bit of it and I didn't like how the mechanics worked because I got kind of mad at the phone stuff. But I never really gave it a real chance. I have the Elite version for PS4, I think. Um, I might have it for Vita as well. I'll have to see. But yeah, I'll give it a chance at some point. Same thing with Zero. Like I feel like Zero's anime is just I'm not trying to like, say bad things about an anime, but like there isn't much good to say about the Zero anime. Because from what you've told me, is that like the Zero VN is very, very good. It's just that the anime just does some weird takes and only focuses on certain things.
Yeah, I would say I did enjoy the VN more. I have the Blu-ray of the anime as well,
Mm,
and I think the story was a little easier to tell in the visual novel through having like multiple endings and
yeah.
stuff and different timelines that they had to focus on and the order of which they told them,
Hmm.
versus like where in anime it's almost forced to be more linear, so the story was a lot harder to tell through that medium.
One more thing before. Sorry, Ben. This is just the Steins Gate episode.
Oh no, I'm learning a lot. I
Um,
wanna we have to check it out
write
now.
that down. Write that down. What's your opinion on the movie?
Movie, I'm a huge Karisu fanboy.
Hmm.
We're gonna
Hmm.
and it's just really cool to, I wouldn't say it's crucial for anyone who like just wants to watch Steins Gate and enjoy the story. It doesn't really add much to the narrative or like the timelines as a whole, but it was interesting to see basically one of the other characters have to experience the, I guess, the strife that the main character
Mm-hmm.
was experiencing in the original story.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, like, people can think what they want about Okabe. I've heard some very interesting takes on the character, but he went through a lot, and I don't think just anyone.
Yeah.
So it was interesting to show that they had another character have to experience that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I enjoyed the movie. I thought it was a really interesting take, and it was a good supplementary content for the whole thing. Um, yeah, Steins Gate, check it out. It's available on Blu-ray, kind of. I don't know if Crunchyroll's re-releasing this stuff. Because it was a
Pretty sure it's
Funimation.
on Crunchyroll.
Yeah, but I mean, like, it's a Funimation Essentials Blu-ray, and I know Crunchyroll lately has been um, basically reprinting a lot of those. Like, I saw something recently, like the um, Oron Host, Oron High, or whatever, the Host Club anime. That's getting a new Blu-ray printing here very soon, and it has like the Crunchyroll logo on it. Um, Same thing with like just some other things. So, um, but cool. See, we talk about anime. See, we're not
We
complete
do.
liars here. Um, you know what? Just because um we're in the anime talk here for a quick second. Ben, what's your favorite anime and why is it bad? Why do you like
Uh,
it?
I mean, like all time anime that I could watch over and over again.
Sure, sure.
Oh gosh. This is old, but like Ninja Scroll, I could probably watch that over and over again. Or Fist of the North Star, I could probably watch. But I think the one that I probably have the most watching time is probably Naruto. Um, like not Shippuden or any of those, just like original Naruto.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's so funny because someone's like, "Why do you like it so much?" I'm like, because it sucks because like no one likes him at the beginning of the show. No one likes him because of his history and what he was made from. But by the end of the Naruto series, where they go into Shippuden, everyone loves him because he's like saved countless people and he's like excelled way more than anyone else. Um, I started watching anime back when I was 18, I want to say, and you had like special order stuff through Columbia House. They had like an anime club,
Mm-hmm.
and so I got like a VHS once a month, right? Of course, the first one was like Akira, then Vampire Hunter D, and then Fist of the North Star. But it was so cool. It's great to see where anime is now, where it's everywhere.
Yeah.
Alex and I were talking about this last time that Hulu and Netflix do a really good job of bringing those there. HBO Max has that Suicide Squad from Japan, which is weird but crazy.
I still haven't watched it yet.
It's so weird that it's good. Um,
Interesting.
you know, but like I think it's great. Like when you guys are talking about this one, I might check that out. I'm not. I mean,
It's
I like fairy tales, so I can't say too much.
I mean,
I mean,
Steins
I
Gate.
watched Fairy Tale,
I
See,
mean,
there
I
we
feel
go.
like
Thank
we've
you.
all watched Fairy Tale here. It's fine. I haven't. I forget how much of it I watched, but I definitely watched a good chunk of it. Um, but yeah, Steins Gate's definitely one of those things that is older, and it benefits from you not knowing anything. So if you are going to watch it, just kind of horse blinders, watch it. Um, don't look anything up. Just wait until it's done. And the dub cast is pretty good, I gotta say. J. Michael Tatum
Yeah.
is a really good Okabe. So
Yeah, I would agree.
yeah.
I'm definitely one of those people who pretty much only watches Japanese dubs and subtitles, but I will agree that the English dub for Steins Gate is very good.
Yeah, it's around that era where like English dubs, especially for Funimation, there's like a certain era from like I want to say like 2008 to 2012 where dubbing they just somehow perfected it at that point, and they had really good actors and they had good like script writers and all of that. And it seemed like they really believed in it and like took their time and did multiple takes. And then when the streaming wars started happening, there were the fast dubs, and then you just see them just like try to crank out things, and there just isn't as much quality control. We're starting to get back to good dubs again, I believe, with some things like Sentai Filmworks, like it or hate it, like they have High Dive, but a lot of their dubs they wait until the shows already come out, and then the dubs come out on either their service or on the Blu-ray. And so like they actually take their time to do stuff compared to like Crunchyroll or I guess like what Funimation was doing, where it was just, hey, here's a dub, it's coming out the same week, and you're like, how is that possible? Like that doesn't
Like a few hours after.
like you
Yeah.
just got this thing. Like how is that even possible? Yes, you got it like a week early, but a week to dub an episode, that is ridiculous. No one can do that correctly.
I just watched Godzilla -1 in the actual language it was in, and then I watched the dub version after.
I didn't know there was a
And
dub version.
yeah, so on Netflix it's dubbed.
Hmm.
So, but I will say movies like Kung Fu Hustle, the dub version is awful. None of the jokes that are in that movie hit as well unless you watch it in Japanese or Chinese, excuse me, or
Yeah.
Mandarin. I've always been because one of the things I watch a lot of is like martial art films, and now if you're watching the Shaw Brothers, you're just gonna have to suck it up and hear the really bad dubbing uh, of those, which doesn't make sense sometimes.
Yeah.
But when you get a chance to watch some of the old Jackie Chan stuff in the actual language, it's much better. And I think that's the way it should be. But I do feel like anime has come a long way with their dubbings. I know my son was a huge Attack on Titan, and he used to watch it before they did the dub. So like when it would come out on Hulu, it was only in Japanese, and so that's what he would watch. I said, "Are you gonna wait for the dub?" He goes, "Oh no, it ruins it then." Um, you know, so yeah, I get where you guys are coming from. I sometimes if I'm trying to work and have something on, I'll have the dub version on just because
Yeah.
it's easier for me to catch things as I'm working, but if I can watch it in the actual language, I will.
Yeah. So, cool. That answered my question.
There we go. No one can ever say we don't talk about anime because we
And
just do.
What about
until
you, Alex?
oh
Favorite anime?
oh god, where's my list at?
Where's my list? I love it.
Because we have done a list once on here, and like a lot of things kind of stay the same or change, like move, depending on things that come out. Um, my two favorites, and I like them for different reasons, and I haven't seen all of them of either because they're just so massive. I really like Lupin the Third, and I really like Detective Conan. Those are two things I like so much that I have all these emotes and stuff for. Um, I've seen quite a lot of Lupin the Third in the past, whether that was on Adult Swim or my Part One Blu-rays or some OVAs and stuff. I'm still going through them, but I own every single American Blu-ray of Lupin the Third that has released, and I even have the next two on pre-order. So I own like, and they have released almost everything, every single special and movie except like maybe four more after this, and like some of them I have on DVD as well, like the ones that aren't on Blu-ray yet. So I would say probably those. Those are anime that are just like very comfort food. One of the most recent things I have gotten into in the past couple years is Urusei Yatsura. I watched some of it certain ways, and now it's actually like available. It was one of those shows that was the license was held by Anime Ego, and they were like an old anime company, like back in the 90s and late 80s. And they had the license to the show back on like VHS and even DVD and Laserdisc to a certain point, and as well as like some of the movies and stuff. And then the second movie, called Beautiful Dreamer, which I still haven't seen yet, was the movie that just everyone had. So like it was just very available and you could watch it pretty much everywhere. Now that movie's out of print, and that's the last thing I don't own for Urusei. I'm really mad about it. But I own everything else now because everything else is actually available. There's the reboot that just recently came out. I have the first two seasons for that. The next thing is going to come out at some point since it just ended. And then the original show, all of that came out on Blu-ray the past couple years, and even the OVAs on a Blu-ray just recently came out like earlier this month. So I own all of that now except that second movie. So it just really depends on what you mean by favorite for me, because I feel like I just like a lot of things. Like my friend and I are going through Digimon right now, and so we're watching Digimon Cross Wars, which is the 6th series. And we just started that. That's the one where they don't digivolve, they just they fuse. So like it was called like Fusion or something like that in when it was on like Disney XD or something like that. So like that's how far ahead we are. Like stuff was on Disney XD.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so like there's certain Digimon stuff I really enjoy, like Adventure. The original Adventure is amazing. It's especially in Japanese. I think it just is. I'm not trying to be like a dub hater or something, but there is a lot lost from becoming a dub for a kids network versus like a dub for a normal audience nowadays. Because it's like the One Piece dub, like there's the 4Kids dub for that. This is essentially a 4Kids dub, like it's the Saban Entertainment, whatever. And so when you watch Japanese Digimon versus English Digimon from back then, there are certain scenes that just completely change. Like they're just too heavy on jokes. When there's silence, they just speak and say some stupid joke in the English. When I've noticed this with dubs, especially older dubs, when they change names. So like there's Tai and Matt. It's Taichi and Yamato. Um, in order to match the flaps, like the mouth flaps and stuff for dubs, what I've kind of noticed is that they never just say like the name. They always say, "Hey Ty" or "Hey Matt" or something like that, or "Hey TK," because there's 3 syllables to some of these names sometimes. So it's like Takaru versus "Hey TK." And so there's this weird stuff because for some reason they really want to say "Hey this," "Hey that," or "Hi this." I don't understand why they change names to fit that kind of stuff as well, because like a lot of these characters aren't even necessarily Americanized names. They just change names to change names' sake. Um, but I don't know. I've been talking too much about anime. I talk too much about anime. I like Dot Hack as well, but that's more of a game series thing than anime liking. Like I like Sign, but I talk about Sign and people might kill me, but like Sign is the best boring anime you'll ever watch. Because it is just very boring. It's a lot of thinking and it's just a lot of people talking and dealing with their life and the things happening to them. There is very little action. It's just mostly talking in an MMO, because I just didn't want to show that much action, and you know that's fair because you have a game that's going to show the action instead. Um, so yeah, I don't know. Does that answer the questions?
I like hearing about your favorite anime because it always surprises me. I
Why is
just
why is
every
that? You feel like I do like Naruto. Like, do you want me to like list like the things like? Oh man, I love me some Code Geass. I love me some Naruto and Bleach because that's true. I do like all that stuff, but like I also like these other things, and I've been getting more into older things lately. In the past like 10 years or so.
yeah.
Like Monogatari, for example. Monogatari just recently started up. I haven't watched the latest 2 episodes, but like that show is not for everyone, obviously, but it is a trip, and if you're old enough, you should watch it.
I mean,
Um,
I'm watching Overlord,
oh
and I
yeah,
was like, when I started watching it, I'm like, I don't know, is this like a comedy? Is it supposed to be comedy? And then it like because it gets really weird really quick. But I think that's why I like it so much. I'm already into season 2. They just released season 3 on Netflix. Um, but I think the best thing is like I love having these talks with Alex because both Alexes, because I think once we get to like the diversity of what we all like, it's pretty crazy that uh, we all have our own things that we really like. I stick to mostly like action is what I like. You know, some comedy is okay, but I've not really. The only one that I ever watched that was a straight comedy that I laughed at was Shin Chan, and
I love
I
Shinchan.
used yeah, I used to laugh so hard at it because he was mostly naked all the time. Um, but now that I've watched Smiling Friends and a couple of these other shows,
I love Smiling Friends. We could have a
uh,
whole episode about Smiling Friends. I
I
own that show on
mean,
Blu-ray now. The first season, I bought
uh,
it on Blu-ray.
I started watching it because Alex told me to watch it, right? And I texted him and I said, "Hey, you guys are going to talk." I said, "What the crap?" The one episode where the Halloween episode, the first season, I have never laughed so hard. The only time I ever laughed that hard, I think, was a Family Guy episode where Peter finally dropped the f bomb. That was it. That show's so ridiculous. It reminds me of watching Ren and Stimpy back in the day, and my dad going, "What is this you're watching?" Uh, um, but Dad can't come in here now because I'm
No,
47. So
Pim's just
yeah,
trying to collect sticks. You know, he's trying to collect sticks for the fire or something. You know,
oh
and
my
he's
gosh,
just afraid of the outside and just hanging out um in that cabin. Just imagine it has a beautiful family. Hello, beautiful family. Hi, mom. Hey, dad. Hey, dad.
you talk
I
talk
love
about a
it,
show that doesn't really care what you you think or
man.
offended by.
Well, first of all, Dan, have you watched Smiling Friends?
No, I haven't. This might be the first time I've heard of it too.
Oh my
So
gosh, you
Smiling
have.
Friends is like it's not Oni G, but it's like one of those types of people. It's the guy who did like Hellbenders, like on YouTube. Um, I forget his name, but like it's a bunch of like YouTube people essentially who made a show for Adult Swim. And it's a cartoon, and they're like 12 minutes each, and they're hilarious. One of the episodes, Gilbert Gottfried's in it, and I think it's his last thing ever. He has like a
Yeah,
quick cameo at the end of one of
he
them.
plays God.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, he just plays God, just like right in one of them.
Godfrey.
Yeah, and the latest season had the nostalgia critic on it. And there was one episode that had the angry video game nerd as like a quick little still. So
Yeah.
like it's just very much of, hey, we used to be YouTube. Let's get our YouTube friends on here. And it's just hilarious. So I think of like the main characters. I think of Charlie, who's like one of the main characters. I don't know if you've seen him before, but he's like a big like yellow guy with like a long like nose, and he has like a orange sweatshirt on and like jeans. He reminds me if Alex Fossiani was a cartoon character.
Okay.
And that's what sold me on the show. It's just thinking in that type of space.
Well, and for me, it started showing up on my TikTok because
Yeah.
I was trying to get nostalgic,
Because of
and
Wembley.
I tried to find a specific clip from Ren and Stimpy to send my son. So he was like, "Please stop sending me stuff." It's the scene where they're rubber nipple
I
salesman,
know.
and he goes, "Yep, Mr. Horse's house," and the
Call the
walrus is like,
police.
"Yes." And so I keep sending that to him. So I send him that every other day. Um, and so he was like, "Stop sending it, please, or I'm going to block you." Um, and that showed up, obviously hit my algorithm, and I asked Alex because there's a scene where the guy you just described was in hell, and one of his punishments is this guy that screams in his face. He goes, "Dude, if you do that again, I'm gonna punch you in the stomach." So this thing jumps out and starts screaming at him, and he punches him in the stomach in hell, and it's like he's on the ground now.
He's just like
And
crying or whatever. He's like, dude, what I tell you? I was gonna punch you.
yeah, because he straight up did. The show goes in so many directions, and for 12 minutes, um, God, it's so good.
It's great.
In
And
12 minutes, it gets what it needs to get done.
season 2 just ended, so like it's one of those shows, kind of like Brack or something like that, you know, where it's like if it was any longer than 12 minutes, it would overstay its welcome. But because it's just that short amount of time, you enjoy the whole time.
I can watch more than 12 minutes of that show.
Yeah, it's great, and the audio commentaries are excellent as well. Because I have the Blu-rays. Man, we were talking about other things, and then we got distracted and talked about anime.
But that's what we do.
Yeah, that's what we do. That's what we just get distracted. That's why I told you all in the beginning before we started recording this. I was like, listen, here's the game plan. We're probably not going to get to that game plan for a bit. Just because that's just
you guys have no idea. I was told I was going to be talking about speedrunning today, and like this is great.
I mean, you're still going to. So,
oh yeah.
But then we derail because it all depends on the guest. So it's your fault in the sense of like you helped make this happen, and
yes,
so it's a good thing.
And
derailment's always a good thing.
And I will tell you, on most episodes, we have a tangent, or we go on like a whole new thing.
It lasts the whole episode sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, most of the time, for the longest time, it was Cyberpunk for me.
Oh yeah.
Worst Christmas present ever when it got it, because I got it when it came out and it was broken, and that's the only time I get time to play games. So if the developers are listening, you screwed up my Christmas, so thank you. But like we go in these tangents all the time, or like I'll say something and Alex will be like, "You know what? I want to talk about this," or vice versa. But that's what makes this episode so good. But I do have questions on speedrunning, because here's my dilemma. I watch, and we talked about this before. So because you are a speedrunner, I think I am now a speedrunner, and that is not necessarily true. And I am awful, and I've almost broke a controller. So explain to us and the audience, like, how do you get to the point where you're doing? Because I watch you are like fluent. It is insane. So explain to like everyone, like, what game you play, what speed running,
what got you into it?
Yeah, what got you into it and stuff.
So I stream mostly on twitch.tv/TheDanaMaster. If any of you have seen my streams, you know that it is literally 99% Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice. I guess what mostly got me into speedrunning, funnily enough, was achievement hunting. For the longest time, I was always collecting platinum trophies on PlayStation Network. And then it became a thing of like, what if I do this again but faster? And when you are achievement hunting, it's very easy to just like look up speedruns on what to do, just because it'll often just make things easier.
Mhm.
And I fell in love with the From Software Souls-like games around around the time I became a weeb. We were talking about that earlier. That's actually when I watched Steins Gate. Was I was playing Dark Souls with a friend, and then at 6 in the morning, I was like, I'll watch some of Steins Gate, and then I just binged the whole show in one sitting. It was crazy, but yeah. So it's funny with those games because like you're talking about how difficult they are. Sometimes that difficulty gets to a point where you just resign yourself, where it's like, I'm done fighting the enemies. Let's see if I can just run past everything to get to where I need to go. And that ends up being sometimes the most viable strategy, just to get through things, because you can definitely end up lost in the sauce where you're trying to fight mobs of enemies, and the more you try it, the less far in the game you seem to be able to go sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's and I've watched his streams on several times. I'm a lurker though. Like I don't usually get in the conversations. I'm usually doing something else. But when I bought that game, I was like, all right, he's doing an awesome job here. I got this. And then I died really quick after a couple of little bits. And your strategy you're talking about, I'm like, that's my next strategy, right? Is this to run by everything? But you also with yours, you were just like on it, and you have a timer going. My anxiety would kill me of watching the timer and watching where I'm supposed to go. Uh, I
Yeah.
would be like, nope, I can't. My kids all the time are like, Dad, you should totally speed run Super Mario Brothers 3 because I've played it so many times. But if I was on point of like, let's set up a timer, right? Oh, I'd be awful. I'd be totally awful. So
Yeah, choking is it's easy to do speedrunning. I've seen a lot of speedrunners give up on, like, we have what are called splits, where you can separate certain segments of the game and what you're doing. And I've seen many speedrunners just forego splits altogether, so it's just the timer, and it stops when it's over.
Hmm.
And there's a lot to that, because almost every reason I reset a run is because I've lost like 10 seconds, and I reset too much, and it's very easy to just like see that you've lost time and give up. So I can definitely understand where they're coming from with just not having splits, to just not have
Is
to
is
see that
is
about
there
it.
a way? So like same thing with Ben. Like if I see a timer or something that just makes me immediately worse, could there be a way? Or I mean, I guess I know there is a way, but you can have like audio cues for your certain splits, right? Like if like you did good or did poorly, right? Um,
Yes.
so like, could there be a way for you to like hide your OBS screen somewhere, and so you personally don't see the timer, but you can just listen out for the good and bad, and if you hear like one of the really bads, then you can either look at your screen and see how bad it was, or you can just keep going and assume that every run is the run, assuming you're hearing normal to good speedrun attempts. Because I'm not trying to tell you to do your job, but like I feel like that's something that would help me personally for like not focusing on a thing, and especially because you're talking about like I reset too much, so like maybe that's a thing that could potentially help. I just don't know how viable that is for your setup or anyone's setup.
I would say so. By default, the program, it's called Live Split,
Mm-hmm.
or yeah, that times you. It's by default, it's always on top, I believe, of whatever program. So you always see it. You
Okay,
can turn that off, I believe. So you can definitely have it running in the background.
so you can have it like running in the background, but then have it as a source on OBS, so like other people could see it in the recording, but not you.
Correct.
Okay, because that's the
So
way
that
I would play. I feel.
It would be viable. And you can have audio cues. The
Mm-hmm.
thing is that's you have to have some kind of comparison for it to cue. So for most people, their comparison is their personal best.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're comparing it to your personal best, it just kind of depends on how your personal best is. Because for the longest time, I did have an audio cue for like every time I was behind my split and just behind my personal best overall, it would play like the bruh
Mm-hmm.
sound effect. I had to shut that off after I got a different personal best because my beginning in my new PB was pretty good, and it ended up turning into like every time I was just losing time most of the time because it
Mm-hmm.
was just a really good beginning. So we just were hearing that all the time, and it's like I have to shut this off. This is too annoying.
Okay.
What is your personal best time to complete that game?
So the category I run the most is called Shura glitchless. Shura is an ending. They're typically called the bad ending. You could also call the category any percent glitchless because it's the fastest ending to the game. But my personal best is 30 minutes 3 seconds. And I have the speedrun.com leaderboards pulled up here. That puts me at number 46
Fancy.
Look at
on the
that.
leaderboard.
That's insane. I know it took me 30 minutes to get past the first part of that game. Uh, I think that's the thing, and I love watching speedrunners. You know, you're not watching a speedrunner to see like how the game looks and how it finishes. You're watching it just to see um, how. And I've always thought this, like how you guys have everything planned out. You know, it's not like I'm gonna jump in this game and speedrun it with no practice or anything. You guys really take the time to learn the maps and learn what you're doing beforehand because you know like where enemies are. You know movements, you know everything. I mean, is that part of like what you do to get ready to if you're going to pick a game to speed run?
Yeah, I would say the way most people learn how to speedrun, which can often be to their detriment in certain situations, is they just pull up world record and then you try to emulate it and copy their strategies. This ended up the way this can really work against you, and it happened to me, is that world record is often like there are certain strategies that are safer than others that might only cost you a second or two, and if you're starting out is like nothing. That's not even time save you have to worry about. But you won't ever see that in just if you just watch world record, you won't know that there's often alternative strategies for a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
So if for an example, there's this boss called Corrupted Monk. There's a way you can skip it, but not really skip it. There's a way you can cheese it to instantly stealth kill the boss.
Yeah.
And it involves using consumables. You literally throw ash at it, and then you jump on a pole behind it to stealth kill it. I've for months after speedrunning that game, I didn't know that you could just pick up more ash, and it makes it go from being kind of difficult to execute to it's like you can literally mess it up 3 times and just keep trying until you get it as long as you don't aggro the boss, and it's like, oh,
Okay.
so
That's
it's yeah.
that's pretty awesome. Um, I was actually going to write a list of games that I think you should try to speed run. Um, and Alex is laughing because I guarantee he can tell. I can tell which one I'm going to pick. Uh, have you ever thought of speed running a Mega Man game?
I've never I have seen Mega Man speedruns. I've never really played many of the Mega Man games, but I can see why speedrunning them could be like very fun.
Yeah, I know Alex is. I always try and get him when he's like, I always say, "Hey, are you streaming tonight?" He's like, "Yeah." I go, "Well, you should play. You should play Mega Man." He's
No,
like, "I'm
no,
not
you're
playing it."
always like, you should play the bouncer. I'm like,
That is
I
another
don't
one.
want
Yeah,
to. I have it on Japanese, like on my Japanese PS2. But and it does have English to it. It's like one of the few Japanese games that also just has English completely on it, like even a dub. Um, but like, no, I'm not playing the bouncer, please.
it's a grown up Sora in that game.
I can just play Kingdom Hearts 3.
Uh, it's so funny because like I when before we were playing talk with you, I looked up other speedrunners, watching them people and people anyone that speedruns in general, you are a different type of person, I will tell you. But people that speedrun like um that type of game or NES games, you are just insane.
Yeah.
I just don't some of the hardest games as a kid growing up, like especially like Mega Man 2, uh, just the amount of effort and things that go or like people that speedrun Ninja Gaiden, no thank you. That game caused several meltdowns on my NES when I was a kid. Um, I think that is that's speedrunning though, like you doing it over and over and over again. Um, if you could pick right now, like any game that you would want to be able to speed run, like starting tomorrow, right? What would that game be? You think?
Well, I have kind of a cheating answer. There's this Sega Genesis game called Gunstar Heroes
Oh, that's a
that,
great game.
yeah, I love that game. I picked it up at a yard sale from my neighbor for 50 cents. Best best yard sale find I think I've ever had in my life. But I was there's a good like my real life best friend. We actually were speed running that not online for I think it was like 2017 or 2018. This was a long time ago. We were doing
Mhm.
co-op speed runs
Oh wow.
of that game, and it never got to a point where we were like, I think we streamed it one time, and we didn't have a run that like went anywhere, but we did have the timer going for it. So I guess that's the only unofficial other game I've ever speed run besides Sekiro. But if there were another one that I would just like pick up right now, it'd probably be Dark Souls 2.
See those, and I think those games are so challenging to begin with, and then to speed run it. That's that's a glutton for punch. Gunstar Heroes. I remember renting that as in high school. Um, that game is not an easy game either. You know, um, but it is a good game. I think it's on. Didn't they add that to the Switch Genesis one?
Yeah, I think it's on Switch Online for
Yeah,
Genesis.
that'd be the
Yeah, it's on
cheapest way.
Steam too for like $1.
Oh wow.
That is definitely the cheapest way to play it because I don't think that's a cheap game anymore. I think it's a pretty expensive game.
Yeah, an actual cartridge of it is like 70, $80.
Yeah.
Jeez. Wow.
But yeah, we were talking about retro games. I have a lot of respect for I just speedrun like the From Software games because I love them. I have a lot of respect for people who speedrun the retro stuff. Like I've that same friend that I was talking about with Gunstar Heroes, he likes to do Super Mario 64 hacks and he was into speedrunning it for a while, and that you want to talk about a game with an absolutely nuts like speedrunning community. I think there was one point where the difference between world record and second place for a category of that game was 2 frames.
Oh wow. Yeah, I couldn't imagine speed running Mario games in general. Like, I just could never. The guy that I was watching do Mario 3, he was so precise on everything, his jumps, and he did like a no warp whistle. So there's 3 warp whistles in that game, and if you do it right, you could warp straight to 8. But he did it straight, and it was so good. Um, of course, he would mess up something, and then he would have to start all over in the beginning. You know, and I've seen you do that. Does that ever get frustrating for you to like start all the way over again?
I would say it really depends on how far I get in the run. When I say I reset too much, like if any of you have seen my streams, you know you probably don't see any more than like the first 10 minutes of the game. Mostly because the first 10 minutes of the speed run is the most difficult and the most luck based of the category I run. But also, I think if I'm only like 3 or 4 minutes in and I make a mistake that costs me like 10 seconds, it's where it's like, all right, let's just reset. Like, I haven't really gotten anywhere. But if I've made it like the category is about 30 minutes long, if I've made it 15, 20 minutes in, like, I want to finish the run. Like, it's way more soul crushing to get close to the end of the game and choke. than it is to. It's like if I mess up the first 4 minutes, it's whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You can just reset.
Cool. So yeah, we've talked about your speed running there, and you talked about like Dark Souls 2 as well as other things.
Mm-hmm.
So I know this is a touchy subject, but I do want to kind of try to go into it. Um, how, not necessarily for your community, but how are communities generally handled as a whole for speed running? Because I know you go to like the website, like the speed running website. Like how does
Mm-hmm.
can you just explain like an overview for like in layman's terms, like how does that work? How do you do that? How do you submit stuff? Because I think that's all valid information for people. And then after that, then you can go into more community based, like how these people work with each other versus how these people work with each other, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So if you go to speedrun.com, that's where like most speedrunning happens. I don't know. I know there are like certain other websites, and in Japan it's something completely different. They call it RTA, which is real time attack. And I don't know if this is true, but I think they have like different leaderboards and like a different site where you can submit stuff, different ways to time it. Because so for Sekiro specifically, the timer, you might notice this if you're playing comparing it to a casual run. There are mods installed on the live split timer for Sekiro specifically that do a few things. The first thing it does is it shuts off pop-up tutorials. So when you're playing Sekiro and let's say you get hit for the first time and you're on the ground, it'll tell you like, hey, when you're on the ground after getting hit, you can like dodge to quickly get back up. And it just like shuts those off for quality of life
Mm-hmm.
purposes. Another thing it does is it has a mod for like, so when the game, it's attached to your game process. So when you're, if you've noticed during like loading screens or like in between cutscenes and stuff, the timer will pause, which it does not do if you're just playing the game casually. There's an in-game timer on your save file and it just keeps running.
Mm-hmm.
And the third thing it does is there's actually an essay written on this, but the in-game timer is from, I think it was either Dark Souls 2 or Dark Souls 3. It has issues where it doesn't, the game calculates like damage and stuff based on like frame rate, and the same with your time. So but it just like cuts it off on like seconds. So if you were to, quit outs are not allowed in my category, but if you quit out the game and you're like half a second in, it just like cuts off that half second. And because the timer is also tied to your frame rate, there were essentially, if you could mod your game to run at specific frame rates, you could get a significant boost to your time. Like I think if, I don't remember the exact numbers, but let's say like if your game ran at 52 frames, there would be like rounding errors in the frame rate that would essentially make it so it's like you don't move faster, but it's almost like the world around you moves at like 5% slower speed. So you could just, I think after like a 30-minute run, you would have like 30 seconds or so off of your time compared to like running at a stable 60 frames.
Hmm.
And then there was like the opposite cutoff as well. So like 57 frames, it's like you would just get really hammered on frame rate. So in a sense, it's like if your hardware isn't as good, they made a mod that basically like it, I don't know how, but it like fixes the timer so that those issues don't come up, and it's just like a more accurate way to calculate the in-game time, which is what you will be submitting. So when you submit a run to speedrun.com, you'll often just have to, you'll provide a link to either a YouTube or a Twitch VOD of your run, and then you submit it on speedrun.com. You let them know the game, what current, if you're on PC, what patch you're playing it on. You have to specify which console, PC, PS4, whatever, and then you provide a link to the video. you'll also put in your time, which would be like the in-game time. For a while, you would have had to verify your run by like after it's done, you quit out your game and then you show on screen the time that's on your game save file
Mhm.
as well, which isn't necessary anymore since they've added these mods to the timer. But the in game time is ultimately like what is on the leaderboards. It's not necessarily, I think what they call it real time attack in Japan. What I believe that is like as soon as you hit like start new game, you run a timer and it's like the real time. So from like including all the loading screens and whatnot. So I believe it's just a very different process
Okay.
for that. But
I mean,
yeah, so there's a lot going on behind the scenes with just the timer alone.
Yeah, and
I
that's
mean
just
that
one
is
game.
yeah,
Mhm.
and I think that's pretty cool that they have all these. You have to do all this here, because I'm sure there's people that have been trying to like, oh, this is my time, and come to find out they were using something or they cheated or something. I'm sure that happens.
If you look at my one of my recent Twitter posts, it was about I run a different category as well called Mortal Journey, which is the all bosses gauntlet. When I posted that, there was someone on world record who is not there anymore. Comes to find out that they were cheating.
Hmm.
And and they were, it was unfortunate too because it got past the verification process and literally someone else who's not a mod for the community or a verifier had to like come in and explain to them using like code in the game and how essentially what this guy was doing was he was modding his game so that bosses would give him very advantageous attack patterns that would literally be impossible. Like he would, I remember even watching it, I didn't think this at first, but I watched his world record run to learn from it and then I saw certain things and I was like, this will literally never happen if I'm playing the game. And I didn't immediately assume he was cheating. I just assumed that it's like he won like 10 lotteries in a row or something. But yeah.
That's crazy to me. Because you always hear about people. I think my favorite clips to watch are people that play Call of Duty and they're using like they're cheating and then they don't close out one of their screens or something and then they get busted.
Mhm.
That's my favorite thing to see because you know uh, I've never. I personally play Halo and I don't cheat. I don't use anything like that. But I would think in your world of speedrunning that would be uh, a thing. You know, would be a oh yeah, this probably happens a lot.
Yeah, that's that. As far as I'm aware, that was the only real instance of cheating. There was a kind of another cheating. So there was, they made it a rule so that if you like they had to make a rule. People will often like you can use cheat engine and stuff and that helps with like practice. Like I've practiced jumps before where it's like it's just easy to pull up cheat engine and just like change your location using hotkeys with that for practice. Some people would just start runs and not close out cheat engine, so they had to make it a rule so that it's like you literally have to quit if you use cheat engine for like practice or whatever, you have to quit out your game and reboot the game because that will clear all of the cheats. And there it's mostly, even if you didn't have cheats on, it wouldn't, there's no like tangible way you can know if they were having that running in the background, but it's also like there's a lot to be said for memory values of the game. So like how it loads like what a enemy is going to do and stuff. You don't, even if the mods aren't on, you don't know if that's going to like affect things like that in the game.
Hmm.
So they made it a rule that it's like you can have it. It's like if you were using it, you have to totally shut down your game and start a new instance of it. And but they weren't going to, essentially like some people would forget or whatever and like they would have a run and it would be a PB. If retroactively before the rule was made, it's like, all right, if cheat engine was on, as long as you weren't cheating or none of the stuff was on, like we'll leave your run there. But and there was another instance where somebody literally he ousted himself. I saw it happen on his live stream where he was like, "Hey, I have this mod that hitless runners use that like basically like auto skips cutscenes for you," and then he was explaining that to one of the mods, and he's like, "No, you can't have that on. I have to get rid of your run now."
That's crazy. So crazy.
But yeah, so to talk about the community, if you were like, if tomorrow if you wanted to start speedrunning, there are like forums and guides on stuff for like on Sekiro where it's like, here's where you download the timer. Here's a tool that helps you organize save files, which are a very useful tool for practicing and stuff. So there are guides on that. There is also a Discord server for Sekiro speedrunners, and you can get, not only does it also have many of the same resources and stuff, but you can also just, there's a board for, it's like, I don't know what I'm doing, help me set this up please,
Well,
and
I could
stuff.
tell you personally, after watching my gameplay, I will not be speedrunning that game nor any game whatsoever, because I'm just that awful. Yeah, I think it's really great. So if people want to watch you speedrun, um, you should do a shout out of like your information, how they get to see you, all that good stuff.
Yeah, so I stream on twitch.tv/TheDanaMaster, which is a very hard name to spell, I'm sure, but it's TheDanaMaster. I do stream on YouTube as well. I've been experimenting with that recently. Unfortunately, my graphics card is not good enough to handle a multi-stream flawlessly without performance issues. So when I do stream on YouTube, it's normally just like the practice. I'll usually spend the first hour of my stream like practicing things, like doing a warm up basically, and that will be all that's on YouTube. Once I actually start run attempts, it's normally just Twitch because I don't want potential performance issues affecting the actual speed runs.
Mm.
But yeah, I'm on Twitch, I'm on YouTube. I do have a Twitter that I'd almost never post anything to, but that's there as well.
Yeah, yeah, and I'll make sure to I'm gonna put all the links in the description, just so if you're looking, and then on our Facebook group and stuff, we'll put those in there as well, um, so we can have that in there.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, we kind of been going for a bit, but I mean, is there anything you want to say that you haven't said yet? Because like we don't really have a time limit on this podcast. It's kind of just like when we want to end it. But is there something specific that you want to address? Is there something that you want just to talk about, or just tell people like, hey guys, hey kids, don't speedrun. It's not fun.
um I guess like I think you asked some questions about like what I thought about the community
Mhm.
and stuff that I did want to touch on. So the Sekiro speedrunning community, there are like a lot of people who will show up just to show speedrunning. This used to be a problem when I was new, of like people who didn't really know what they were doing, attempting to backseat my speedruns and like, why don't you try doing this? And it's like it's not fast, but the community, like there's a lot of good moderators for Sekiro speedrunning that are very helpful. They are often like always on the lookout for Twitch, like for speedrunning and stuff, and like new players. And one of them showed up to my stream out of nowhere and taught me right off the bat something that immediately started saving me like 15 seconds on my speedruns. That was really easy to do, and it was like, I need more of this, please. But there's a good community there, and if you're looking for other speedrunners, there's, I mean, if you I'm follow most of these guys, and like someone is speedrunning Sekiro at almost all hours of the day. So there is a good community here. It is a very large community too. Like for the Sekiro any percent glitchless category, there are 348 people on the leaderboards.
Wow.
That's a lot. That's a lot more
Yeah.
than I thought there would be.
I think when I started there was like 150, so it's crazy how much it's grown in like 3 or 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you asked like what was really getting me into speedrunning. I just love the combat of Sekiro, and I was literally like booting up save files on my PlayStation 4 just to fight bosses because it was really fun to do. And then I realized like I'm already booting up save files and I'm like beating these faster. I wonder how viable is a speedrun?
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out there was a lot I didn't know about what I was doing. But yeah, I guess just like the combat is super fun in that game. It's highly addicting and there's a lot of nuance to it. There's there was this boss for a while that you would just put into a corner and now it's literally faster to just like instead of combo locking him into a corner by just mashing the attack button, if you're really good at doing a bunch of crazy stuff like jumping over a boss's attack, deflecting his stuff midair, and then before you land, do a special move because doing it in the air does more damage. It's if you can pull off all of that in one jump, it's faster to just fight him now.
Huh.
There's a mini boss you fight. You literally open up the fight by just you do a special move, and then as soon as he attacks you, you jump back, deflect 2 of his attacks midair, hit him once, and then do a special move all before you land on one jump. It's the combat is so deep in that game. It's crazy.
Have you been able to attempt that?
Yes, I that's the go-to strategy I do now for that boss fight. The earlier boss fight I was talking about, I don't run the category where you fight that boss, so I haven't learned that yet.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also a lot of stuff now too where there's a funny thing you can do to most enemies, which is if you are not facing them, they can't block you. So you can do what's called 180, where you start an attack facing them, turn around, and then turn around again, all before the attack is over. And if you can pull off that with good timing, the bosses literally can't. They just take your hits. They don't know what to do. So it's crazy how like just simply not looking at a boss can just wildly change the combat of the game.
That's that's so crazy in my mind. Uh, you know, and it's so funny, like thinking of like Mario. I'm like, I don't think it's ever been a time where I'm like, okay, step back. I mean, my thing with Mario is just to get through it, you know. Um,
Mhm.
but that's so much strategy, um, and that's pretty cool though. I think it definitely dedication to a game that you play for a lot of hours, you know.
Yeah, I think I have like 3,000 attempts. I play with Steam offline, so it doesn't keep track of my hours, but I know like a lot of people have several thousand on it, so it's a lot of time.
Let me, and I guess not really end this, but I have one final question for you. Um, do you hate Sekiro yet?
No,
Okay.
if anything, you will see that if I'm like speedrunning the game, I'll often get frustrated, and it's not most of the time it's not because of the game. It's normally of my own skill issues
Mm-hmm.
and I'll complain a lot while I'm speedrunning. There are multiple swear words coming out. There's there's some frustration, but yeah, I do still enjoy it wholeheartedly. I do see some people like really get lost in the grind and rage, and it's really disheartening to see, but like I wouldn't be speedrunning still if I didn't find it fun.
And so, do those people fall off then? Are those the types of people who you just don't see streaming it as much or speedrunning as much?
Mostly, I do see a lot of the people I do see fall off. Funnily enough, there was a Dark Souls 2 speedrunner talking about this, but most people only speedrun for about 4 years before they fall off and just disappear. And
Huh.
which is unfortunate because I'm at like 3.5 years now. But
So,
the I would say like if you let the grind wear on your soul and like take it all emotionally and just find yourself getting frustrated a lot, like not only do they end up quitting, sometimes it's like maybe it's just best for them too, because it's like why are you getting mad? Like, don't get mad.
Why you have to be mad? It's only a game.
Yeah.
It's only a game. Yeah, but yeah, the people I there are some who just like who just get mad and like hit their desk and stuff and throw controllers, and they're still going at it. So it's rage doesn't necessarily push people away,
Hmm.
but yeah, I would say like if you're not having fun or it doesn't sound fun and it sounds miserable, maybe just keep having fun at games and don't speed.
Yeah.
But
Okay. Um, cause yeah, I was just wondering, cause I feel like for me, like I love certain games, like I love Kingdom Hearts to death, especially the first one. Um, I was doing, it wasn't even a speed run, but I was doing like challenges and stuff. And I don't know if you remember this because this was like a year and a half, 2 years ago.
yeah, I do
I was doing
remember.
the Zero EXP run. I got to Maleficent as a dragon. I got that far with just like the Kingdom Key, or not the Kingdom Key. Um, with just level 1, except Goofy was level 2 because of the weird just the game how it works. um but like yeah, that was very difficult for me, and I was still enjoying that game to a degree. The problem is that's now lost. That save file is kind of lost now because it was on the Epic version of Kingdom Hearts, and I don't know how to move that over to Steam. I need to look that up to see if there's a possible way of moving that save file over the Steam because I'd rather play on Steam. Um, but like there's certain games and stuff that I've thought about like speedrunning, but then I don't know if that would kill the enjoyment for me for certain games. Like I really do love the combat of Kingdom Hearts 1. I really do love the combat of Kingdom Hearts 2 and 3 as well. And so those are the games that I think of when I think of like speedrunning. But then I just see the times and the unobtainable goals. Just those are just very um not depressing is the word, but like it's just too much for me to handle,
Hmm.
overbearing. And so then that just makes me not want to do it. Friend of the show and founder of the show, Spencer, he always, when he was doing his Dark Souls 2 stuff and he was very, very into speedrunning, he was always like, "Hey, when are you gonna start? When are you gonna start speedrunning, man? Hey, man, what do you want to do? Do you want? You should do this game. You should do Banjo Kazooie because you love Banjo Kazooie. You're already playing it. It's like I don't know if I want to hate Banjo Kazooie, and like I do casually like play that game like once a year, and my time does go down. Like I want to say my last time for that game. Now, don't quote me on it, but like I want to say it was like 7 or 8 hours for completing the whole game on Xbox 360. Now, that's not necessarily anything to brag about in a speedrunning sense, but as a casual person who's not trying to speedrun, I'm just trying to just like I don't know where everything is at all the time. I haven't mapped my way around certain levels, but it's me just being like, oh yeah, as a kid, I know that the Jinjo's over here and the Jiggy's over here, and I kind of just naturally do stuff, and I get stuck at Click Clock Woods, and I like lose like 2 hours there. But but like yeah, there's certain games where I've been told to speed run, but I'm just not sure if I want to hate myself.
Hmm. There's a lot to be said for. I've heard many speedrunners talk about this, where it's like the game you speedrun, you can't like enjoy it casually anymore. Like it's almost like
Yeah.
the devil's fruit or the temptation, where it's like even if you try to play it casually, it's like there's no way you don't just eventually start just doing speedrun things to it, because yeah, you lose that sense of like being able to casually enjoy, almost like what we were talking about with anime, like the first experience
Mm-hmm.
you have, like you'll just never have that again.
Yeah.
But I think for me, like the fun in it is just like it is competitive. They're like people obsess about their time and stuff, but a lot of speedrunners will tell you that the thing that really matters is your spot on the leaderboard. Like, sure, if you save like 2 seconds on your time or whatever, if it doesn't bump you up on the leaderboards, it's kind of like it doesn't even matter. Really, it's like
Mm-hmm.
kind of not even worth submitting. But so it is a way to take a game that's generally not competitive and make it competitive, which I kind of enjoy.
Mhm.
So yeah, if you want to, if like, and speedrunning can definitely like take the fun out of games, but I find like the timing of it is thrilling. I like the race sensation and the competitiveness. So if that sounds fun to you, then maybe give speedrunning a go. And we're talking about our friend Spencer. He actually kind of like conned a few Dark Souls 2 speedrunners. He was like, "Oh yeah, this guy's gonna speedrun Dark Souls 2 eventually," and some of them ended up following me and stuff, and I never did. So he threw me under the bus a little bit, and I'm sorry to any of the Dark Souls 2 speedrunners listening to me who feel played, but
Maybe
maybe one of
someday.
these days.
Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe. I
maybe
mean,
someday.
just because you're not doing it now doesn't mean you won't. You said you would do it at one point. It's like my kids all the time. They're like, "Dad, you said you would do this." I'm like, "I said I would do it at some point. I didn't
Yeah, the
say
sad thing was,
now."
is like I didn't even tell them that I was going to. He was just like, "Yeah, this guy is gonna start speedrunning Dark Souls 2," and it was like, I never said that.
That's crazy. Yeah. Well, I feel like I know more about speed running to talk about it in a public setting. Um, I'm sure no one at work is going to be like, when I talk about it at work, they're going to be like, "What are you talking about?" Oh yeah, speed
Yeah.
running. But I I've watched you speed run. I've watched Spencer speed run. I still think it's crazy you guys do it. Um, it's just like I said, it's like a well-oiled machine when you guys do it. Crazy.
Not me. Now I'm just on speedrun.com just looking at different games that I could maybe do, and I don't want to. Maybe I could
Yeah.
be, I have all this stuff back here. I could be the .hack speedrunner guy, How many people are actually streaming and speedrunning .hack?
As someone who
There was a
follows me who speedruns Shin Megami Tensei games, if you're into 14-hour speedruns, like
wow.
An hour and 34 minutes and 53 seconds for a PS2 emulation of .hack Infection. 4 years ago was the last one. And 5 years ago for real hardware, because apparently they just put all of them in the same any percent. Is that
mm,
common to put emulators versus? I guess different games, different things, but like this is an older game.
yeah. I know for Sekiro they split it up between hardware. So like PC, like they group all the consoles together. So PS4, PS5, Xbox One are all on the same leaderboards, but PC is kept separate.
Okay, because I'm looking like right here. The top two are emulators, and then the next one, that's the bronze number 3. It's like 6 seconds or 6 minutes behind the top, and it's like a PS2 regular, and there's even like a Japanese one on this list too. That's weird. So maybe just not enough people. 14 players. Okay.
Yeah, like I know Gunstar Heroes has like 5 or 6 people on the leaderboard. So if there's only one person on Genesis and only one person on PC, like it doesn't really make sense to split those up, even if there are
Yeah.
like differences in hardware that affect how well you can speedrun the game.
Yeah, I guess that
I
is
decided
true.
to go there too since Alex said something, and I looked up Super Mario Brothers, Bros. So the top person for this game, there's like 106, I think, players. The top person was 4 minutes 54 seconds. That's insane.
Not even 5 minutes. So yeah, like the retro gamers, man, it's nuts.
Well, and I get it because you could take warp pipes to go straight there, but the amount of research you'd have to do and just to like understand like, okay, so this is how you get there, this is how you do this. Um, that's insane.
Yeah.
Uh, if you're a speedrunner and you're listening, you are a different breed of person. Hell, someone on here did Home Alone. Who decided to speedrun Home Alone for NES? Because that was not a good game at all.
I have Home Alone on Game Gear. Do you think I can stream it? Like, do you think I can speedrun it on Game Gear? Do you think I could be the first top speedrunner for Home Alone on Game Gear? I can't even beat the first level.
That was the problem with the NES one because it goes, these older games are like, here you go,
Yeah.
bam, and
Yeah,
just
here's the game. I hope you have the manual and you didn't rent this because you need that manual to learn how to play this game.
yeah. That was a problem with renting back in the day. So you could rent, NES or whatever, but it was like $5 more for the manual. And so like, if you never got the manual, like I'll just figure it out. Good luck to you. What was the game you said? Home Alone for Game Gear.
Yeah, I'm looking up Home
Mhm.
Alone for Game Gear right now.
There's one
Oh my
active player.
1 year
And
ago.
20 minutes, 2 seconds. Okay.
Nice.
I mean,
So here's a good call out. If you want a world record on Sekiro, the all achievements category on console for unrestricted, no one has submitted a run. So if you can finish that game, get every achievement, and do at least one glitch, so it's on unrestricted and not glitchless, you are guaranteed a world record, no matter what your time is.
All right, when are you gonna do that?
yeah,
I've thought about it. That
It'd just be
is
funny.
tempting.
yeah.
Yeah, it would be funny. And it's like world record, world's first. Let's go,
Just
baby.
do like one glitch at the very beginning, and then just the rest of it.
Yeah,
Just
exactly. Hmm.
That'd still be
The
time
problem is
consuming.
like the world record is like for glitchless is like 5 hours, so it's like, and there ain't no way I'm getting all achievements in 5 hours my
No.
first try. So that it would like that's why it's like you finishing it is the challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Anyway, that's probably all the time we've got. We gotta get back to playing Animal Crossing New Leaf on our Nintendo 3DSs or whatever Reggie says. But thank you, Dana, Alex, for joining us tonight.
Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, we appreciate you.
Yes, thank you.
Again, if anyone is new here and you're listening or viewing, depending on where you're at, this is the Get At Gaming Plus podcast, where we just talk about anything we want to talk about, whether that is anime now, video games, speed runs, movies, TV shows, just stuff we like. If you enjoy that, consider going to any sort of podcast service, and you can find us there. You can find us on like Spotify. You can find us on Pandora. You can find us just pretty much everywhere. There's so many different places. iHeartRadio, Amazon. We're everywhere. And if we're not there, and you really want us there, let us know, and we can try to make us be there. If you don't want to see our faces and you think we're monsters, you can listen there. If you do want to see our faces and see how ugly we actually are, you can go to youtube.com/getatitgaming, and you can catch the videos there. Videos tend to post on Fridays and the audios tend to post on Wednesdays. This is a bi-weekly podcast. Still, we'll see. And we just we post those times, and we're getting ready for our holidays because as people may or may not know, we tend to record a batch of things for the end of the year, and because we deserve a break, and so we do recordings and save them, and then they release when we're on vacation or what have you. If you, the viewer, the listener, whoever, if you stream, if you speed run, if you have a podcast, anything, if you have any sort of content creation, you can definitely hit us up. You can find us on pretty much any social media, Get At Gaming or Get At something. And you can just definitely find us there, and hit us up. And yeah, if you want to be on one of those special episodes. But yeah, we like to take breaks every once in a while because doing this every week was a lot for us. Doing it every other week is more manageable, but we still deserve a break at certain times. So it's just easier for mental health and just for our sanity to you know, just take that time at the end of the year to regroup, gain ideas, and do more cool things. And we have more cool things planned for the future. I'm rambling, but yeah, thanks again, Dana, for being here. We'll put all your links and stuff in the descriptions on both the video and the audio. And Ben, is there anything left that you want to say to the lovely people?
No, but just to get at it.
Get at it.
Get at it.